The Senna S's as we go back to full speed racing, and the GT battle has Bruno Senna fighting his way up alongside Bergmeister for a moment out of the first S's into Curva de Sol, and he's got a great run, putting two wheels onto the curbing there, right up in behind the Porsche now. In fact, you can barely see the Aston Martin as Bruno dodges out to driver's right, coming to the downhill left-hander. The 97 ahead of him is Stefan Mucker, who is in second place. Second, third and fourth absolutely together. I think that's Christoph Nygaard just in behind them in the 95 car, the first of the AM cars. Yes, it is. So he's hanging on to the coattails of the pro drivers. Problems for the 98. Problems for the 98 Aston with Richie Stanaway. That car still in the pits. And the 57 of Maurizio Mediani, who I'm sure Bergmeister was cursing. The Krone Racing Ferrari really held him up for far too many laps and almost had him off the track at one stage, just before the conflagration that befell Tony Vielander in the Ferrari, the big fire. That car in the pits as well now. So Fisichella, Mucker and Bergmeister. Fisichella about a second and a half up the road, and then this battle for second on down. In GT AM, Nygaard has a big lead over Campbell Walter, who's got about 3 seconds over Enzo Portaliccio. 95, 96 and 81 Aston Ferrari. But it is the GT battles, as so often in longer races, that is providing the action, street fighting from the street car class. And Senna this time doesn't get the better run out of the S's that bears his uncle's name, his name as well of course, but named after his uncle, as Mediani rejoins thankfully behind this fabulous scrap for second, third and fourth in GTE Pro. Oh, side by side, and there's a touch, and round goes the Ferrari, and there's two Astons have come together as well. No, it's the Porsche and the Aston, and that was the 51 car. That was Fisichella, and that, I'm afraid, at turn number 4 was entirely down to Patrick Bornhauser in the Corvette, who seemed to be navigating by Labrador there. What was he thinking? That is an awful decision by Bornhauser, who is over 10 laps down, got right in the way. The Ferrari then lost it in the middle of the corner, and there's definite contact between the 51 and the Porsche number 91, and I think the Aston just about got round. Senna had to go a long way off track. So this is going to leave now then. This could have Christian Nygaard leading the GTs again in the AM car. The 61 car was right in the middle of that as well. That's Jack Gerber, and he's got a right rear puncture. Was it the 61 and not the 51? I will apologise if that's the case. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, untroubled by this, Andrea Lotterer continues to lead the motor race by 5.8 seconds from Tom Christensen.
Yes, and just before we had the Ferrari conflagration moment, which brought out the last safety car, I noticed that both the Audis managed to set new fastest laps in the race, John. We first of all had a lap of a 120... No, let me just find out what it was, because I've got onto something else. We had a fastest lap at a 121.213 for Andre Lotterer, and then a 121.177 from Tom Christensen. So
Keller, no, not Fisichella behind him. That then, off has gone the 99 Aston. That's Bruno Senna's car. This is third. This is right at the end of the lap again. Turn number 13, right rear. Down, gone.
Puncture.
A puncture at least. He's been off the track. The black marks around the back of the car tell us that. He's been off the car to driver's right and got back on again. A lurid moment then for the car that was third in GTE Pro, and Bruno Senna, darling of the Paulista, here at Interlagos with the Mitsubishi Snatch vehicle, comes up towards him. Now this should be able to pull that out of the way without the need for a full course caution. but I don't think that's getting back to the pits. And Senna's out of the car, slams the door in disgust and pulls his ratio lead out at the same time. He's walking out around the front of the car. I thought he was going to walk out in the middle of the track there. Now he's on his own in the picture that I've just seen, and it looked as though the tyre was already down.
There was a message on the screen that came up, John, which said that he'd already been off at turn 8.
You're absolutely right, well remembered. Well, there, the right rear is still out. Its suspension's gone. The suspension's gone. And Paul is absolutely right. He was off much further down the track. He's broken the suspension, and then the suspension has given way. And the very sad sight of a stricken Aston Martin with right rear dangling at a jaunty angle. Not as ProDrive designed that rear suspension. So he lost it earlier on in the corner and then drove on. I think the suspension's already broken at that point, if I'm honest. But as Paul reminds me, further round the lap, much further round the lap, because that's at turn 11 and 12, he'd already been off the track. So 5 Astons started, and we appear to have... and as I say that, that's 2 today. Bruno Senna's incident as he walks back in across the infield. When you see the pictures, Paul, you'll understand why the A word came into 2:15. So that's another hour of racing gone. 2:15 here in Brazil as Bruno Senna jogs back into pit lane. Sure, he's going to be on the Christmas card list of Eduardo Freitas for that. He's on the track as he goes into pit lane now, showing his fitness, mind, keeping up a steady jog at this kind of heat, which is 29.4 in the air, and the Michelin track temperature 31.1 now, with 25% humidity, and the wind still coming pretty much from the west. So we're coming round to the leaders pitting, Paul Truswell.
Yeah, that's right, John. About another minimum of 2 laps, and possibly about 3 or 4. Reason I'm not quite sure, of course, is we haven't actually had that much running of green flag. I'm not quite sure how much fuel would have been saved whilst they were in that last safety car period, because the safety car period, the second safety car period for the fiery Ferrari, neither of the Audis made stops. So we've got Alan Magnussen having handed over to Tom Christensen and
unavoidable. Unfortunately, the Ferrari spun in front. Crashed to the Porsche, and the Ferrari hit me again, and so he broke the suspension. That's it.
Bruno Senna there confirming to Louise what we had suspected.